Ever had someone talk over you when you're speaking English? Last weekend, I was out with some friends. One of them, a lovely guy who speaks English as his second language, was telling us about his new job. His English is excellent, but like many of you, he sometimes pauses to find just the right word. Here's the problem. Every time he stopped, even for a second, someone else jumped into the conversation and talked over him. And what did he do? He went quiet. He just let them talk. By the end of the night, this smart, interesting guy had barely said 10 words. I could see he was frustrated, but he didn't know how to get his turn in the conversation back. Does that sound familiar? The very next day, I called him and taught him 3 simple ways to stop that from happening again without being rude. They're polite, they're British, and they work. Today, you're not just learning English, you're learning how to make sure people listen to you. Because there's a big difference between being polite and being a pushover. And I'm going to show you exactly where that line is. Hi, I'm Steve. Let's do this. Let's start with what you shouldn't do when you're interrupted, whether it's with friends or at work. Mistake 1. Simply giving up. The first mistake is exactly what my friend did in the story I just told you. Stopping mid-sentence the moment that you're interrupted. It's the easiest thing to do and it feels polite, but it teaches people it's okay to cut you off. It's funny you should say that.
Well, I'm going to start walking more.
I think I'm too old for that sort of thing.
Mistake 2 is using polite words to show you're annoyed. This is called being passive-aggressive, and it's when your words sound nice, but really you're criticising. It's funny you should say that.
Well, I'm going to start walking more.
Oh, I'm sorry. Am I interrupting you? What you're saying is polite, but the tone makes it clear you're very annoyed. The problem with doing this is British people have used this type of speech from childhood and they're masters at it. Trying it against them won't work. In fact, it makes you seem petty and unfriendly. Which leads us to mistake 3, raising your voice. If you try to out-volume the person who's interrupting you, it just creates a shouting match. In British culture, getting louder makes you look like you've lost control. And both you and the person who's interrupting, well, you end up looking foolish. I think you've overcharged me for...
I certainly haven't. I wouldn't do such a
Well,
thing.
you have. I've got the receipt
I can't
to
believe
prove
you're
it.
saying this to
I
me.
need to speak to the manager. If you've caught yourself doing any of these 3, you're not alone. It's easy to make these mistakes without thinking. So let's move on to what you should do. And we'll start with technique 1. And this is to pretend the interruption never happened. When someone interrupts, the first thing to try is just to keep speaking. Don't stop, don't pause, and what's really important is don't change your volume or your speed. Just carry on exactly as before the interruption. This is brilliantly British because it shows what we call quiet confidence. You're not making a fuss, you're not creating a drama, you're simply continuing with what you're saying. I think we need to consider the budget implications of this project, particularly when we look at the long-term costs
what we really need to focus on
and how this might affect our sales. You show you won't be upset or diverted. The other person starts to look pushy and impatient, and anyone else listening will automatically start taking your side. As with everything, to get good at this, you need to practice. So when you hear the beep, read this aloud. When I interrupt, keep going. Same tone, same speed, as if I haven't spoken. That's a crazy idea. We should change. It might take a couple of tries to keep your voice steady. Rewind and practice until it feels natural. And now for the second method. Technique number 2. The power of names. If you find the first technique of just carrying on doesn't work, and they still keep talking over you, move on to this second method. Use their name followed by the word please. You have to put a small pause between the two things though. This is incredibly powerful. It cuts through the conversation instantly. But it's really important how you say it. Don't shout, Kerry, please. Don't whisper, Kerry, please. Say it clearly and firmly. Kerry, please.
I'm afraid that's how much it costs.
I'm sure you can do something better with the price if we
What
agree
about
to...
the colour and the delivery date?
Kerry, please. If we agree to pay in cash. Notice that little pause after the name. It's really important. The beauty of this approach is that it's impossible to ignore. When someone hears their name, they instinctively stop and pay attention. It's just what humans do. And notice the follow-up please. This is perfectly polite British English, but it's also completely clear about what you want. Read this aloud after the beep. When I interrupt, stop me with my name, then a short pause, then add please, and carry on speaking. We can buy a holiday voucher. Don't worry if it feels awkward at first. That's completely normal. Again, just press that rewind to have another go. And that leads us to technique number 3, the direct but polite challenge. If someone still keeps interrupting, it's time for the most direct approach. Tell them their behaviour is a problem, but in a typically British way by using this phrase. I find it rather difficult to concentrate when you talk over me. This is wonderfully British. It's direct about the problem, but it frames it in terms of your own difficulty rather than attacking the other person directly. Let's hear it in action. We need to look at the amount of time we...
I think we should look at who is...
Kerry, I find it rather difficult to concentrate when you talk over me. Notice what's really important here is your calm tone. Remember, you're not being rude, you're just being clear. Now it's your turn. Read this after you hear the beep. And when I interrupt you, stop me with, Steve, I find it rather difficult to concentrate when you talk over me. It's obvious the best time is... This is a British superpower I'm giving you. Be direct while remaining utterly reasonable. British culture values what we call fair play. When you handle interruptions calmly and directly, you're appealing to this cultural value. The other people in the room, your colleagues, your friends, will recognise that you're the one that's in the right, and the person interrupting you, well, they're the one that's being unfair. This is particularly important in professional settings. British business culture respects people who can stand their ground without creating conflict or trouble. Remember, there's a big difference between being polite and being weak. True politeness involves having respect for yourself as well as others. So let's remind ourselves what these techniques are. Of course, as usual, there's a full guide on this lesson that's been sent to your inbox. But if I haven't got your email address, then click the link in the description to get your totally free copy. Technique 1. Continue speaking in your normal tone. Don't stop, don't rush or raise your voice. That's really important. Just pretend it never happened. Technique 2. Use their name calmly and firmly to get their attention and follow it with the word please. And technique 3. If necessary, be direct about telling them to shut up, but politely. Remember, confidence in conversation isn't just about English vocabulary. It's about knowing your voice matters. You're not being rude. You're not making a scene. You're making sure you're heard. And if you want to be interrupted less in the first place, try speaking with the same speed and flow that native speakers use. This video will show you how. Cheerio for now.